Joining us now, Dr. Rick Fisher. And Rick Fisher is a senior fellow on Asian military affairs at the International Assessment and Strategic Center. Been on our show many times. The president now within an hour of landing in Hanoi, his big diplomatic effort with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. Dr. Fisher, good to have you. What do you think about the president's opportunity with Kim Jong-un? What do you look for, sir, in this summit coming up?
John, thank you for having me on again. Look, the president has made clear that he is looking for, shall we say, limited progress in moving Kim Jong-un down the road towards eventual nuclear and missile disarmament. He has stated repeatedly that he's not going to push Kim Jong-un on denuclearization to an excessive degree. What this means is that perhaps, yes, some progress may be made during the summit, but the essential threats and challenges will still be there when the president comes home. And in my opinion, this necessitates that the United States take full advantage of the president's decision to leave the 1987 Intermediate Nuclear Forces Agreement and start to build up the American long-range strike missile and missile defense arsenal in Asia, and to share that technology with our allies so that we can deter, to a much greater degree, North Korean aggression and Chinese aggression.
So, Rick, listen, the president going there trying to find a way to get potential denuclearization. All the Democrats blasting him on the party of diplomacy now is the party of, I don't know, don't meet with people, saying that it's never going to happen. What is President Trump's risk here?
Well, all North Korean regimes have promised to disarm or reduce or mollify in some way, and they've failed to do so. And president after president has left negotiations, come home, declared some kind of minor victory, only to be disappointed by the North Koreans. Now, President Trump certainly understands the stakes and certainly came out strong in 2017 and 2018 and has truly forced the North Koreans to pay attention to what they need to do in order to live in peace with the world. The big question is whether President Trump is willing to move from his original goal of a quick resolution, a real capitulation by North Korea in terms of giving up its weapons, or whether he is willing to shoulder the burden of intense bargaining with a country that all it does is bargain for the rest of his first term and probably his second term.
Dr. Fisher, let's get to the realistic expectations of this summit, which is going to start tomorrow, end on Friday. What in your mind, sir, is a victory for President Trump?
Well, a victory would be the beginning of North Korea destroying both its nuclear weapons capacity and its nuclear weapons delivery capacities. That would be destruction of nuclear weapons, destruction of factories that build nuclear weapons, destruction of missiles, destruction of factories that build those missiles. This, however, would require the cooperation of China. China is intimately involved in North Korea's nuclear and missile capacities, and both the Obama administration and, sadly, the Trump administration have not addressed sufficiently the Chinese contribution to the North Korean nuclear missile threat, and we need to do that. We need to be sanctioning several Chinese companies that we're not sanctioning today that are directly assisting North Korea's nuclear missiles.
Well, in 2 years, the president has not been able to get the Chinese to do that. In fact, they play lip service, right? I mean, remember when this whole thing started, President Xi said, yes, we're with you on this. We're going to put pressure on the North Koreans. And then we find out that 3 months later, they tripled their trade with them. So that was a complete lie. And that's what the Chinese do. They go to meetings and they shake their head and bow and tell you what you want to hear. And they lie to you, and then they don't do anything. And then they just buy and stall for time until there's a new president that comes in. I mean, they've been doing this since Richard Nixon went there in 1972. So what's going to change?
Nothing. That regime.
Thank you.
We're going to be facing this great wall of opposition from China and North Korea until the communist regimes in both Beijing and Pyongyang disappear. Now, going to war against one or both is not a very palatable option. It's not one that the American people will sign up for in the near term. But what we can do to move the ball down the road far more effectively, in my opinion, is to missile up. We're out of the INF Treaty. We don't have any medium-range or intermediate-range ballistic missiles in Asia. The Chinese have almost 2,000. Mm-hmm. We need to balance their threat and put enough missiles and tactical nuclear weapons back in East Asia to make it very clear to both the North Koreans and the Chinese: you attack South Korea, you're utterly destroyed. You attack Taiwan, your capacity for waging war disappears. Then we'll have their attention. Then we can make realistic demands that lead to real all-around disarmament.
So what you're saying, Dr. Fisher, is right now, until we re-up the missiles, we're not really in a position to do that, because that's all the Chinese and that's all Beijing and Pyongyang look at is, what's your capacity in a given region. What you're saying, sir, as I understand, is until we get that capacity, it's lip service.
Well, our goals are simply not going to be met. The North Koreans and the Chinese